What's going on, everybody? It's Henry here with the PSI Defense channel, coming to you with another video. My FSC had been down for quite some time, really a couple months. I had broken off an Allen key inside one of the bolts of my regulator, trying to disassemble it to get the bolt catch mechanism parts, the sear, the rotator, and the return, to take those out, to scrub them down real good so I can clean and lube them properly, which dramatically reduces most malfunctions you experience with these markers, both the FSC as well as the T8.1. But I wasn't able to repair it because I couldn't get anybody to tap that out. I tried drilling it out myself, but my tools just weren't up to the task. So I finally broke down and got a new regulator, and I put my FSC back together again with some additional goodies. And here she is. So as you can see, I've got the highly coveted Grimburg 5-inch barrel in there. I've got CymruTec fiber optic sights. Also CymruTec 16-gram 8-round magazine. Instinct Industries. And I guess, what do they call this? The index mag release. And other than the modifications that I already had, that's what's going on here. So I posted this on Facebook today, and I mentioned some regulator modifications that I had done. Of course, some of the less lethal community picked up on that and have got to know what modifications I've done to the regulator. Mostly the modifications that I've done to the regulator are for reliability, not so much for additional power, but the more you turn up the power, the less reliable that these markers can be sometimes. So these modifications I'm going to show you in this video are mainly for reliability's sake, but they're very good. They work very well, and let's get into it. Okay guys, just in case anybody out there doesn't know how to disassemble their FSCs, we'll start there. Index mag release is very handy, very comfortable and convenient. First, start by removing your magazine. As you can see, big fat 16-gram CO2 inside the CymruTec mag. People have been asking me about these. Its prints are very high quality, as you can see. The finishes are great. I had to modify this one because of the index mag release. But they're very functional. The thing about the 16 grams, if you pierce it while it's in the marker, you tend to lose a little bit of air for some reason. So he recommends that you pierce it before inserting it in, which is fine, I suppose. So when I get this running a lot more consistently, I will do quite a bit more testing on that. But once you have that out, you're going to remove your barrel. Interesting thing about the Grimburg barrel is it's opposite, whereas your stock barrel, you're going to turn it, you're going to press it in and turn it counterclockwise. You press that in and turn it clockwise. See, it's very beautifully milled. Kurt, they designed the breech for less jamming. They have very interesting detents too. I don't know if you guys can see that. Very interesting detents setup that they've got there. Really cool. Very high quality billet aluminum. Grimburg logo. Looks like I need to clean it out. All right. So I'm just going. Okay, now your regulator is free and released from your FSC gun body upper. I bought this from Rockstar, and I call Rockstar Tactical the Amazon of air marker parts and accessories, because every time I've ordered from them, 2 days later it's at my door. Love them. When they have it in stock, they get it to you fast. So again, these are the 3 parts to your bolt catch mechanism. This is the sear, this is the rotator, and this is the return. So when your bolt comes presses down on the sear, hits the return, and the return pushes it back up against the sear, so that when you pull your trigger, the sear releases the bolt for it to fire again. So this is what I do to make sure everything's working properly. Press down the sear, push the return. As long as everything slides and doesn't catch, moves quickly. A lot of times the rotator will get stuck, and I think I'm gonna, while I get this apart this second time, I'm gonna shim this out a little bit to give the sear spring a little more tension. I tried to double that up, put 2 springs there, but it was too much tension, and then that sear was getting stuck. But let me take this apart and I'll show you the modifications I've done. Now again, the modifications I've done to this regulator are not for power, which all the power is in the air chamber part of the regulator. What I've done is some modifications for reliability with added PSI and tension. You're asking a lot more of these 3 components of your trigger and bolt catch mechanism. So you need more spring tension in order to function, to facilitate this, because this all happens within fractions of a second. So if your bolt's traveling faster, it's pushing harder, you need more spring tension. So that's what I've done, and it's worked out pretty good. So when you disassemble your regulator, when you take this side plate off to get to your bolt catch mechanisms, be careful. This new regulator is a little bit different than all the other ones I've had. I've had about 6 or 7 other ones. First of all, look at this. It's got a black front cap as opposed to a brass one. Don't know what that's all about, but it's different. And these aren't as tight. These, when I break them loose, on all my other regulators, they're threaded in very tight, and that's why I broke the Allen key off in this front bolt of my other regulator. So that's something you definitely don't want to do, because until you find somebody who can machine that out of there, it's going to be trash. So before you remove this second bolt, you want to put your finger there, because this is under mild spring tension. You don't want that spring to go flying. Of course, I have accumulated extra springs because I find that when I disassemble these things, sometimes I need them. So I stocked up a little bit. They're cheap enough. So I'm going to hold that, take that loose, remove the rotator spring. I'm going to take the trigger arm along with trigger spring off. And here is the first modification I've done. I just removed the sear spring. This is what a sear spring looks, a brand new sear spring. This is how it looks. Basically straight across the spring angle. It's got that little catch to catch onto the side body of the regulator. So what I've done is I put a bend in the spring. You see that? And I'll show you the way I did it. Took some needle nose pliers, gripped it real steady, gently pushed that over so that when this goes in, this is an unmodified one. See how that catches right there, and then you attach your spring to the sear. Well, with a modified one, see that? You get that extra tension there. I tried using 2 springs, but it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't go onto this post. I'm going to this post here, so that's the best I got for now, till I find a company that I can have manufacture me some custom springs. but that works pretty good. So I'm going to take the rotator off, that aside. I'm going to remove my sear, set that aside. Show you the last modification. I don't know if you can see this, but for the return, I've got 2 springs on there. Just 1 spring. I actually used 2. And what I found out was I was having problems when I got my T8.1s up to higher pressure. The problem I was having, a lot of you have, is that when you gas it up and then the bolt, you hear the bolt initially engage and click, it kicks the first round out of the barrel and it just drops out the muzzle. Definitely not the look you want when you're facing somebody and you need to intimidate them with your air marker. A round falling out the front just does not inspire confidence. So I found out that if you double up on the return springs, it's just a little tricky getting them both. You know, you can push them both together, which is easy enough, but you have to just work with it a little bit to get them to both go into the little nipple on the end of the sear. And while you have these apart, this is a very beneficial step you can take. I've taken some WD-40 nylon brush and scrubbed my parts down really well. One of these days I'm gonna get a Dremel and polish these up, see if that makes a difference. But particularly this curved edge here and this curved edge here on the rotator, they slide together like this. So any debris, any dried up grease on there is going to hinder that. So I've taken WD-40 to pretty much all of them, scrubbed them, wiped them down, let them dry, because WD-40 can degrade your lubricant. So you want to make sure all the WD-40 is off. Also clean your posts. Make sure you lubricate this wall here, because that's where parts are sliding. There's a little bit of lithium grease because this is brand new. That's what they had from the factory, and you can see it's kind of shiny from my gun drops, but I left the lithium grease on there. I don't think it's going to hurt anything. So this is the way you reinstall the return. And then with your sear, there's a pin on the back. That's not the sear. With the sear, there's a pin on the back that goes into that hole. All right, that way you only get that little bit of travel. Okay. There's my modified sear spring, which is here. Come on. Here. So you just push that on like that. And I usually just take my thumb, wrap that around. Boom. All right. Now the rotator goes on that second pin. There's 2 pins. Rotator goes on the middle pin. Now I did say I want to try to shim this. It goes right there. Shim this to see if I can get a little extra spring tension. Let me pause this real quick while I look for something. What I'm going to try, this is just a safety pin, old safety pin, and I'm cutting off the edges so I can get that loop. Of course, this is grungy and grimy on the upper end, but make sure the loop part was nice and clean. I don't want to put anything corrosive in there. This is what I've got. Couldn't find a washer small enough for the right size, so this will add some spring tension. Let's give it a shot. Doing is bending those snipped edges in. All right. So I'm going to go right on top of the middle post here, right on top of the rotator. Drops right on. Add some more gun drops. Take my rotator spring. That seats on there nicely. Yeah, definitely gives me a little more tension there. All right, always remember when you put that on, the spring goes down and the hook goes up. All right, there's that. Line up all my holes. Boom. All right, yeah, that seems to move a little more freely. Let's see what it does when I get it reinstalled. All right. Push my bolt forward. Okay guys, out here at the range with my modified FSC Grimburg barrel, 8 rounds of joules. This is 12 gram CO2. Alright, strong satisfying click. Let's see what this thing does. Ooh, that was loud. 332. 281. 257. 236. 247, 213, 228. All right. Pretty flawless performance. I think I've got a mismatched bolt and air chamber that I think is causing a little bit of the power degradation, but overall this thing is working pretty solidly. There were no jams, no hiccups, no sputtering. I've got the velocity turned up pretty high. The Grimburg barrel is awesome. I'll do some more testing. I want to change the bolt in here and get a little bit more solid readings before I do that, but overall feels very solid, very reliable. I'm going to run several more mags through it and let you guys know the results, but as far as now, my spring modifications to the trigger and bolt catch mechanism seem to be working out pretty good. I love the look at my FSC functionality. Now if it's rock solid and performing with the regulator modifications, this is the perfect carry sidearm for less lethal. Alright guys, remember, take care of yourselves. Treat everybody like they're somebody. Peace. Just realized something. Wasn't really an accurate test of my modifications because jewels tend to not jam at all. So got a mag here full of HP 68s just for kicks, T8.1 barrel, because as you know, the Grimburg barrel will only shoot jewels. That's fine. I really love the compact feel of that. That almost looks like a suppressor on there though, so kind of cool. Let's see what we get. Great click. .342, 335, 287. Like I said, that FPS drop, I'm sure has a lot to do with this air chamber I have on here. 264, 239, 222, 311. All right, so far so good. The regulator modifications, ran HP 68s with no problem. Got the velocity turned up pretty high. Once I get a new bolt in here, I'm 100% positive that the performance will increase. But still really good numbers and good consistency. Feels solid, shoots solid. Everything seems to be very stout. So I'm happy with it. You guys try it out. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Take care of each other, guys. Peace.